So good afternoon and welcome here to our studio in Ipswich, where we are putting together a series of films to look at super Suffolk suppliers. And the two of you are here from the Horticulture Industry Scheme. So George, tell us about how this got going. Tell us a bit about your story.
Well, Tim and I have both worked in criminal justice for a long time. I started in the mid-90s working at High Point Prison, initially as a volunteer, then as a tutor, then as a manager, and I worked for an organisation, a charity. We did prison resettlement, preparing prisoners for their release. And then I went on to work for other organisations in London, in different parts of the East End of London. And I went on to work for the Prison Reform Trust, but it felt to me and to Tim I worked with in High Point Prison in Suffolk a couple of decades earlier. And it felt to us that one of the biggest hurdles for people being released from prison is employment. Mm-hmm. It's very, very hard for them to find a job. Partly it's, there is prejudice out there, and partly their own self-esteem isn't great having just come out of prison. So we felt that there was a need to provide employment for prison leavers.
Georgina, give us a summary as to what this actually is, what the business actually is.
This is a social enterprise. We're a community interest company, which means we're not a charity, we're more commercial than that. We run like a business, we are a business, and we do horticulture. That is our business. We employ people who've had difficulties. It may be that they've been to prison, they've almost all been homeless. Some have experienced problems around drugs or mental health. So they've all got barriers to work. So we employ them, they're paid, and we do garden maintenance contracts for businesses and for individuals.
So classically, what is a day-to-day routine then? If you've made contact with this, and someone will say, well, come to this location at this time, and then you get signed up. There's some sort of induction is there, and this is.
On the first day there'll be the induction where you have to go through all the sort of standard things. We also we'll do the induction with the health and safety and getting all the next of kin details. But normally, and Georgina normally does this. Normally after we've got to know people and they settle down, normally sort of 2 or 3 weeks later, you'll do a action plan with them. So like, What is it that you're trying to? What do you want?
An individual action plan,
yeah, very much. And that's sort of to see how we tailor what we do to that individual.
So your success rate is pretty high then, in terms of...
Yes, we've had 2 who have worked with us and gone back to prison for new offences.
And that's out of a total of what, George?
72.
72 different...
Yeah. They haven't all been to prison.
No.
Not all our guys have. Some have had problems around substance misuse. They've almost all at some point been homeless, and some might have had a history of mental health difficulties. So they haven't all been to prison, and some of them came out of prison some time ago.
Now tell us what a typical contract or arrangement with a customer looks like.
It can be quite varied. We've got, just to give you some examples, we've got one holiday park where we keep their grounds looking nice. Another thing that we did, which was in Newmarket, there was a housing estate which was quite run down. There was a lot of problems around antisocial behaviour, and so they were redoing the lighting there, because lighting obviously can make have a big effect on activity. But we undertook all the design of. They've got these very, very big raised beds. So we did the design of the raised beds, bought the plants, and it was one of our guys who did all the design for it.
Really fantastic.
Yes, and it looks amazing.
And it's still nice as well.
Yes.
We went back not so long ago, and something.
You're getting plenty of rain.
But it's we're worried that all the plants will be gone because it is a bit of a rough area. But it was and people were in the housing there. Were coming out saying, "Oh, this is lovely."
So it's created a sort of sense of pride, really.
We actually had this morning. We were on site doing a nice garden in a sort of community hub, and there just happened to be a couple of policemen and policewomen turn up there, which caused a little bit of a stir with the team. And the policewoman knew 3 of the guys very well, and one of them, the most recent guy that we've had come along, was telling her that if he hadn't come with us, he probably would have been reoffending by now.
Oh, really?
He's only been out.
Yeah.
I think he's been out 6 weeks or so, and he was saying, I'm working with them, and he was just a bit. He was like important.
So the more mentions that we can get made of this within the local business community, with large projects, with public sector, it can only be good for this in terms of trying to get you more support, and the more support you get will enable the business to grow, and then you'll be helping more people who are going to benefit from your help.
We only really need, we need as much as we can, but like out of big projects, a little slither of that work.
You mentioned slither before too.
It's all about that slither. If we can get that slither of work, we will pay for ourselves. We won't have to rely on grants. And the money that we save, it's difficult for us to know how many people have not gone to, it's impossible to know how many have not gone to prison. But we only really need to stop 2 people going to prison a year, and we've paid for ourselves.
Exactly.
And that doesn't take into account the amount that the benefit they might be costing in benefits, in police time, probation time. Yes, victims. So yes, it's nothing but positive that people become, from being on benefits, contributing members of society who pay tax and support their families.
Well, thank you so much for coming to talk to us about it, and for us to learn more. I think the message is very clear, and so the more support we can all help engender, then that's going to be great for your business. So thank you very much for coming.